Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Listen, you already heard the intro. It's crazy. You know, I always make sure we bring you the hottest guest, somebody that's going to help you elevate your brand, elevate your wisdom. And we got none other than the guy behind probably all the TV shows you liked. The one and only Vinnie Potestivo is on the show today. What's going on, bro?
Thank you for having me. What an awesome space, by the way. What an awesome topic. What an awesome energy to have around being creative. I'm excited for this.
Oh, man. Oh man, listen, I'm excited for it as well, man, because I know the audience, they immediately go to the show notes, they start scrolling through, going to your Instagram, checking out your profile, but there's no story better than hearing it from the person himself. And I want to take it back though. Like take us back to like the young Vinnie growing up. Like where are you from?
That's funny, little Vinny. I'm from Staten Island, and I grew up in a family that was not connected to the media industry in any way. And I knew that I wanted to be in media. I didn't know what position I wanted. I knew that I loved being surrounded by talent. And I had this sort of curiosity as a kid. I was always like, I'm the oldest cousin of like 20. So I had like, cousin actors and like props, and we would put on story, I mean, I have my first film called The Undone Homework, which is a story about a young boy who he tried to do his homework, but there were so many distractions around him in life that were fantastic, adventures that he had to go on that prevented him from finishing his homework. So he would go to school and he would have all these great stories about why he didn't finish his homework. And his teacher would always say, only you, Vinny. So you want to know a little bit about little Vinny? That's little Vinny.
Oh my goodness! Listen, it's just me, but this sounds like that is like the script for like the perfect show that I would have saw as a kid, like on PBS or something. Like nobody wanted to do their homework, man. Nobody. No, so all this creativity,
I sound like
right?
a Muppet baby, by the way. I sound like a Muppet baby. I just listening to that description of my childhood.
well, here's the thing though. You also had that light of creativity. Sounds like early off, like as you had this, this spark of creativity and putting things together. Was there somebody that like noticed little Vinny?
Yeah. I love that you say that. I think that I am a creativist. I think that I've been a creativist my entire life. I think some of that is a defense mechanism, to be honest. Working with my ego, where I didn't grow up with the internet, but I was the oldest of 4 growing up. I'm now the oldest sibling of 6, so I felt the responsibility to have answers that I didn't have, and I'm always the first person to say, I don't think this is true, but maybe. Like I lead with my opinion and like this imagination, and sometimes I'm right, and sometimes I'm very wrong, and so I leave space for that. But I think there's that ego piece growing up that I just didn't want to say I don't know to my brothers and to my sister, and so I created. So if I couldn't, that was my way of figuring it out. I would make dioramas, and I would take shoe boxes and make little scenes, and Play-Doh, and I'm the guy, taking dry erase markers, writing on the windows. And it was always, I never really had one image on my wall. I always had many images sort of on my wall. It was just, and sometimes it looks like clutter. Like it's like the opening of like I want to say like a murder miniseries, but like a mystery where you're watching the opening and you think, what do all of these symbols mean? And then you watch through the episode. Ozark does that, so that's
man, don't get me started on Ozark. I haven't even finished that new season. So
I'm excited for Ozark because I'm mad at Yellow Jackets, and that is something I don't want to talk about. It's bringing up some like I don't know, some Lost. For that TV series Lost is bringing up some emotions.
Anyway. Oh man, I can only imagine. You've been behind so many shows in general, right? But like, I'm always curious for like somebody that's a creative. Like you had like these outlets, right? These outlets. You talk about being able to use a dry eraser to do this and be able to do that. How important is it for somebody right now that is a creative to find the right outlet for them?
It's not that it's important to find the outlet, because now is the right time. because it might take you. I would say now is the right time to be in the journey to find the right outlet. That outlet might not exist yet. That's kind of like where I was going in my head. There's this advent happening now in social audio that's like doing what terrestrial radio couldn't do and what satellite radio couldn't do in
Mm,
terms of community. So like if you asked me 20 years ago, you know, how can you be an effective storyteller if you have a really strong voice and maybe you felt like radio was the place to go, but now there's just a different platform and a different tool. And I also think that we're all these tools and technology have given us different ways to reach the same people. And I think
mm,
we need to do that also. Like it's not just about meeting you, you know, in this when you're looking up one keyword on YouTube or when you're looking up one keyword, you know, on LinkedIn. It's about being omnipresent, you know, in a way, and making an impact. And that's the thing. That's the stuff that stands out, you know. That's like that's the modern talent, you know, brand right about now. That's like just action. Action is branding, you know, especially if it's consistent and if it is intentional.
mm. You know, I could tell where this conversation is about to go because, like, you're one of those people that's like one of those great minds and great thinkers that we still have on this planet right now that we can kind of tap into. So on this
I
episode,
appreciate that.
I made it a point to make sure we tap into the mindset of like how does Vinny think, right? You're talking about somebody right now who has been behind the talents of like what Mandy Moore, the Ashley Simpsons, the Tyrese's. I mean, this is big. So when you think about talent in general, right? Like how do you and we'll get to, you know, your time spent, you know, with MTV, but how do you identify talent?
Oh, it's goosebumps. It's a smile. It's who brings me joy, who brings me happiness, who brings me who brings me promise that something greater can happen that I wasn't aware of could happen. An emotion, a story. Um, uh, it's like falling in love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's love at first sight is what talent is to me. You know, and uh, I love that about talent is that it comes from a person. So you have the ability to fall in love with true talent. You can follow that talent in that person for a long time. So yeah, there's lots of actors and musicians and artists and personalities that I've worked with. Their talent is so beautiful. Their goals are so much bigger than any screen, you know, could ever hold
Mm,
that it calls you to do that. And I, you know, as a kid, I was, you know, I'm not necessarily the most creatively talented person. I went to school on a vocal scholarship, and I went to Wagner College, and I have a business degree in arts management, and so I got a scholarship, which means something. But I also think I was just really good at the audition, to be
mm,
honest, and it's such a huge. That's like the one of the biggest pivotal moments in my life was mastering the audition, using an opportunity to impact somebody and impress them in a non-traditional way because I am not the best singer. I am not the best actor.
what are some of
I'm
those
not even talking
non-traditional
about
ways?
dancing. No, you know. Well, I'm myself. I got my own energy. You know, there's a certain way about me. I'm very comfortable in my uniquity. I think that I found and I've accepted some of the things that you know my voice may be a little bit higher, my gestures may be a little bit bigger. Um, that's my grandma. I don't care. That's like the best part of me. So I'm proud, you know, when I see that stuff in playback. I see her actions. I see her hands moving. I hear her voice, you know, and so and some of those things, you know, might have deterred me in the beginning part of well, certainly. So I don't even want to. I'm kind of like I'm pretending like I didn't want to be on camera when I was 19, 18, 20, you know, in college. I would have loved to have been on camera. And I had some cool opportunities come my way, but to be honest, I didn't want to wake up. I don't love 4 a.m., 5 a.m. call times. I don't appreciate people who tell me what I have to eat based on losing weight. I didn't like that conversation. I just like to be honest, I like to be comfortable. I'm very healthy and I can definitely stand to lose some pounds, but that's cool. Those extra pounds keep me in the gym my entire life. So I'm healthy. You know what I mean? I didn't want to say I love you to someone to, just to get paid. And I didn't want to kiss somebody is really the thing is like as an actor, it's like a weird thing, but um, I didn't ever want to be in a situation where I have to kiss somebody that I'm not like married to, and I do, like that was always a big part of my life. So those were the reasons why, very weird reasons, but it allowed me to stay. But I love being on set. I love the
Mm.
magic of live TV and countdown and the audience I love the rehearsals. I love the the conversations afterwards. I love and I grew up watching TV, and I grew up watching um, like sort of game shows and morning shows, and I grew up, watching Hollywood Squares was like a treat for me, you know. So I loved watching personalities, I
Mm.
loved getting to see personalities behind the actors who I really respected, and at MTV, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I got to do. Beyonce comes to mind because I was a casting coordinator on Carmen, a hip opera on MTV.
Oh
So
wow.
when it came time for her to audition for her role, there were three people in that room: me, her, and the director. And uh, uh, just to be that close to brilliance, I remember every second of it too. By the way,
I mean, it's so dumb. It's so
cool.
amazing, man. A shout out to Beyonce, one of my personal mentors, who's helped me through a lot of different conversations. Is her dad, Matthew Knowles. So I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool that you mentioned that. But
That's it. Matthew and Tina, by the way. That's how I did it, I'm at MTV. You think because I'm at MTV, I might have access to Beyonce? No, the label was not looking for Beyonce to do anything outside of Destiny's Child. And this was already on
mm,
the second iteration of Destiny's Child that we had this solo opportunity for her. And they were like, nah, she's not interested. No, it's a pass. But Matthew and Tina Knowles were downstairs. So I went down. When I say downstairs, I mean they would come to TRL.
yep.
So I would go down to the studio and I would go to the green room and I'd say hi to everybody. And when Destiny's Child was on TRL, they always got like the best catering from Planet Hollywood, which is across the street. So there was like Captain Crunch chicken, which I loved. So I'd come down and say hi to everybody and get my Captain Crunch chicken. But it's about relationships.
Yes.
I look at that. It's not MTV didn't get us Beyonce. Her dad let her mom let that opportunity. Her parents let that opportunity happen, and we know why. It's what she needed. Some people say that's where she found, quote unquote, Sasha Fierce, which is ridiculous to think about.
Yeah.
Building a character, right? How cool is that?
That's crazy, man. And that was one of the first times that the world saw her like solo,
Yeah. So
and accepted him. It was like, hold on, wait, we need some more of this, So
yeah,
shout out to you for putting that together, man. I got a lot of questions because this is like bringing so much to me right now.
yeah.
And,
Stay
and,
focused.
and I think it's important to kind of break it down to people here because, like, yes, Vinny is successful. Yes, he has nurtured these relationships, but you also earned your stripes, man. You went from being at Viacom a production assistant. That's a production assistant to head of talent development. How did you do that? Like what motivated you to get to that point, and how did that come about?
Oh, a talent. It's all about talent. I started off as a freelance production assistant in casting. I was working at MTV Food Network and the Fox News Network. Fox News had a show called Hannity and Combs, which was like a bipartisan political show, and I got to travel the country picking people to ask questions in the audience. And because of that show on Fox News, MTV hired me to cast the Choose or Lose team coming up to the 2000 elections. So I think that's where we found Gideon Diego
Oh wow.
on campus. Gideon's the first person, the first like total. I'm walking on Columbia University.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
and I just remember I remember the tattoo. He had this tattoo on his forearm. He had the little glasses. I was like, he just looks like the guy I'm looking for. And
Wow.
he cut class, and I was like, he cut class. This is the guy. I'm like, he cares about what we're about to go through. By the
Yeah.
way, uh, and then Suchin Pak with
Mm.
MTV News was someone I got to cast, and then what happened was I met this guy named Rod Asa who had an idea to create the talent development department. There was like two or three people who were casting VJs and then managing. VJs are the video jockeys, the hosts for like TRL and all
Mm-hmm.
the shows that you would see on MTV. And and they had they had offices at MTV, and they would be literally like all day long they would be hosting shows. Unlike you see today where there's like one host per show.
Yep.
It was like they were real network talent. And in 98, no, not 99, it was 9999. So the VMAs were 9999. I remember
Uh-huh.
that. That was a Thursday. Weird. So then we started the talent development department the next Monday, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 913, 99. Rod Asa and I created the talent development department. I was his assistant. And a year later, he had developed the Osbournes,
Wow.
had already started figuring out newlyweds. We were already, because to your point about relationships, with parents, Joe Simpson had a brilliant idea to let cameras in and show the world who Jessica really was, because they were Jessica Simpson. They were very unkind to her, and would
Yeah.
compare her vocal chops to Christina Aguilera, or her
Yep.
dancing moves to Britney, or she's not as wholesome as Mandy Moore, or all those comparisons. And to be really honest, Osborne's was cool because it was just like an opportunity to see a family that felt like mine, to be really honest. So I didn't realize how special Osborne's was until we picked up Punked,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in production with Punked, and you could kind of feel that was going to be pretty big, because our first episode was, well, because so that means we had already punked Justin, so we're already feeling good about like what this show is going to do. And it was a cool way to see Ashton create content like you had never seen an actor creating MTV loved
Iconic
showing the
show.
process of making content, diary,
Mm.
making of.
Mm.
There's just so many shows about the process of creativity. And even then, no one saw a producer, a TV producer, that looked like Ashton doing what he was doing, calling the shots, and really
Mm-hmm.
orchestrating the thing. And then Newlyweds hit, and that trifecta at MTV put reality TV. We got more excited about the Real World. Road Rules, was greenlit around that time, which then ultimately became The Challenge, which is my second longest running show on the network. TJ Lavin, I love that
Yeah.
man with all my heart, by the way. Um, and Dave Mira, and all of them, by the way, and God rest his soul, Dave. But that just to be a part of a show, the challenge, to be a part of the show, a show called MTV's The Challenge, like the show that pushes now Gen Z and Gen Alpha to their mental breaking points, their physical breaking points. That show is about boundaries. The challenge, it's about challenges. You know what I mean? That's a cool show to be a part of. And then I just so friggin' proud with what Nick has done with Wild 'N Out.
Oh
That
man.
has become the institutional franchise that it has become. That's ridiculous. I'll never forget. He pitched the show,
Uh-huh.
and MTV passed. It was maybe September, October. He pitched the show. MTV passed. Him and Christina Milian were dating, by the way. Christmas break comes up, and Nick and Christina went and shot a little tape. They rented out like a comedy house and shot a little with some friends. And that was the first time MTV saw with their own eyes, two celebrities having the ability to have comedic chops and teams together. And he invested money and time and energy in that. He saw what this was when people didn't. That's a lesson that I love bringing up, because
Wow.
we get told no a lot. So when is it the right time to invest? When is it the right time to tap into passion or power? What do you have to have, in your team, in your abilities to make those move? And he dug down deeper and found more. So I just think I love that story. I
That
love
story's
I
that's,
love how successful that is.
that story's powerful when you think about it, right? It not only dug down deeper and found more, he found more talent. He found
Yeah.
more people. He launched so many careers. And we were talking before the show. I'm like, yo, my kids watch the show. Like,
Yeah.
and if you're watching right now on YouTube, Vinny's repping right now with the old school wilding out hoodie on right now. You see it, rapping right now. So I think it
It's
shows you just
hysterical.
how crazy and how powerful it is, man. And so many things you've been a part of. Two things I got for you. One I got to ask you because like you seem like you've been able to cultivate relationships long after initially meeting. And a lot of people struggle with that. What are some tips, or what are some things that you doing right now to still hold on and nurture those relationships even after you've worked with someone?
I started laughing because because I realized it's so bad. I realized almost how divisive I am in the answer I'm about to give. I became a casting director because how why else would a celebrity talk to me?
Mm.
Like why else? Well, as a 20-year-old, what else could I possibly do? Now, by the way, actually I want to take that back a step. I didn't become a casting director because of that. I worked towards being a casting director, and I got into casting because how else would I talk to talent? I didn't have the chops to be a producer. I felt like you need to be senior for that. I had the ability to talk to people and make them comfortable, so I like that part more than anything. I have an engineering background. It's like here's like the left field sort of thing
Mm-hmm.
about me. Like I come from a data background. I kind of fell into casting because I was good at that databases, and I was excellent. I have a great eye for talent, but I was excellent at organizing information. And back in the late '90s, I could do group calls, and I could really have an individual process in the casting process that made it a lot easier. And it was that technical skill that I rely on because sometimes what I do is I'll go into the room and make a mess. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we got 60 minutes. Let's do something because afterwards I can go back and I'll make sense of it, and I'll give our content context by repositioning certain story points, bringing in certain visuals that I know my executives need to see
Mm.
to understand what you're saying. And it was that sort of skill set, to be honest, also accompanied with the fact that I knew how to digitize from VHS
Mm-hmm.
to from beta to V. Actually, I was going to say from VHS to digital, but it was really beta to VHS. It was really the big step that in the Y2K year
Mm-hmm.
2000, like that was what we were dealing with at MTV, and that just that technical skill set of knowing how to organize tapes, that technical skill set of knowing how to organize schedules. That's what helped me be a great talent coordinator. That's what helped me be a great casting coordinator. Being in the room with
Mm.
all those people, if you look at my resume, those are the people who make me great at being casting because I was asked to cast the gigs that needed talent on that level. So like I'm in the room because I have a very rudimentary, skill set. But what I was exposed to in the process were some of the coolest, biggest artists just doing their thing
Mm.
in a vulnerable way. And I approach that not as my job, but as like, hey, this is what we're all doing, and isn't this a fun experience to all go through in the beginning of our friendship? So like, what are we doing next? Like that's why I realized my divisiveness is like I never liked the transactional piece of casting. I never went out looking for when Tyrese left MTV and I had a recast Direct Effect. Um, with all due respect, and especially with what's going on at MTV in the late '90s, if you're aware of like the Michael Jackson story and racism and what was happening at
Yep.
MTV in the late '90s and early 2000s, both representation on and off, network, and then how many other networks we created, in there that were not rock and roll because there's a big controversy about MTV starting off on rock and roll and mainstream music and that. But I didn't know LaLa Vasquez. I didn't know I didn't know DJ Clue. I called up
Mm-hmm.
my friends at Hot 90s. I called up Flex. I knew Funkmaster Flex. I said, Flex, you'll still be the DJ. Don't worry. I'm not giving up your job, but we need hosts because you love being the DJ on MTV because it's a lot. You got to do a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
And he hooked me with the programming director and with John, and I walked through the halls, and we put everyone on tape. And
Wow.
that's what I would do. I would call up people who I knew culturally who were experts in their field, especially at MTV, because we were conscious about cultural that cultural conversation. We were conscious about even down like to MTV. We just launched this like so many diasporic networks
Yep.
of MTV. It was cool. It was a cool time culturally to be there. And I know we got some things right and some things wrong. And I was there during the famed Nipplegate. We survived the Janet Jackson Nipplegate thing. That was a weird moment in MTV history.
Yeah,
Some
that's a
so
big moment.
my notebook it's weird, the notes that I took that month on my notebook.
I can only imagine, man. Listen, I would be remiss if I don't ask you this, and that is like I got Vinny right now on the podcast, man. I gotta ask you, like, what are can you give us like 7 steps on how to build like a celebrity like brand?
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Let's start with something fun. Let's start with awards. Let's start with I believe in awards. I believe that the work I'm doing in a collective and individually is so valuable that I want to put it up and ask my peers to give me the thumbs up, give me the social stamp of approval, literally. The social stamp of approval for movies, obviously the Oscars, the Academy, we understand the mechanisms. But what a lot of people don't realize about awards is the process to become eligible, the nomination process, the
Mm.
processing fees. For example, there's almost no major award that's out there that you don't have to pay a fee for consideration, let alone of nomination, let alone of the award. There are awards that compete you against your peers in the category. There are awards that where you're self competing with yourself. So I believe in awards. I think that people love winning with award winning creators.
Mm.
I think that people go to award lists and look at who won gold and who won first, and they work backwards. I think it's a great way for discoverability. And by awards, I'm saying like the W3 awards, the Davy awards, the Telly awards, not just the Emmys and Oscars and Grammys, and Tonys. If you're in marketing, there's the Stacky Awards, which is it's actually my favorite. It's my favorite non-podcast award. The Stackies is like if you're awesome at, you got like this program that talks to this program, and then it pushes to Google Drive, and then a copy goes up to YouTube. And you figured out how to stack technology. There's actually an award for that, and I love letting people know that there's actually an award for the work you're doing. And I worked in TV for 25 years before my first Emmy. And I worked harder in this last year for my Emmy, specifically for an Emmy, than I did in the first 25 years of
Wow.
TV to make TV. It's a different goal set. So what I do to win an Emmy isn't always what I do to make the most impactful TV. I have to work on both of those because I know ultimately if my brand is winning the Emmy, that I'm able to take that with the halo effect and apply it to my new brand. Credits is the second. So awards, one thing. Credits, people are humble. They don't even want to take guest credits on podcasts, which you can take on IMDb now. IMDb is owned by Amazon. Like I can't talk about a bigger ecosystem.
Oh, you giving away game. I like this.
By the way, you have an X. Here's a fun one. You have a picture of an X on Google Images that you want to squash, and you have IMDb Pro. Just upload 20 images on IMDb Pro, and like you will literally squash any older image of you in Google Images and like derank all those awkward photos that you can't get rid of. You just got to push to page 2 so no one sees.
I like that. I like that.
Discovery is important. What our usernames on Instagram, what's searchable and what's not. The bio, the profile. I think that's having anchors, ways seeds that you're planting for people to find you. How making the discovery game fun. Red carpet is another one. So wait, awards, credits, discovery, red carpet. So red carpets happen because we like the anticipation. First off, two reasons. We like the anticipation of celebrities, and also sometimes we're on a deadline and we need a source, right? So that's two reasons why the red carpet is good. Sometimes we just need a celebrity to talk about this, answer this question, go. So what are your red carpet moments? Clubhouse. Almost anyone now can create a room on Clubhouse, or on Instagram now we can anticipate a live event. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's big stuff. That's exciting.
It's dope, man. It's powerful. You got me excited, man. I don't know if I can share this with you, but I run one of the largest clubs on Clubhouse called Podcast Secrets Revealed. We got to get you over there.
Yes. I want to know everything you got. Tell me. By the way, did you know for podcasting, for example, on Apple Podcasts, did you know that there's a link that they want you to submit your podcast information to when it comes to being featured? There's actually a link that they have set up that we pass around. That's if you're looking to be featured on this date.
Oh, you got to share that link.
You got to
share that.
Stitcher also. They make it pretty easy in terms of how to organize the information that's inbound.
Yeah.
But access to those types of links, that's not something that, is people I hear sharing. But that's why I lead with it, because I was there's a link to get featured on Apple Podcast. That's what we've been looking for.
That's what a lot of people are looking for. Listen, I got 42,000 members of that club that are going to be where is Vinnie? And we got to make that.
I'll send it to you.
All right, dope. We gotta make something happen.
And anyone listening to this, if they want it, they can reach out to me on DM. Unless we figured out how to put it in the link in the notes,
show notes,
or bio. Yeah, show notes. So we'll figure that out. By the way, I gave you 4 awards, credits, discovery, red carpet. I just want to finish the last 3 real quick. Distribution. So make media that matters and have proper distribution. Distribution, generally speaking, is the home base, the HQ for where your media is going to live, where it's going to be centered, that you can then do what my second to last note is amplification, that you can then amplify. You can let people talk. You can let people share when you have the address, when you have the files, when you have the infrastructure of storytelling mechanisms, when you make it easy to let people share. And the last thing that makes, to be honest, a celebrity brand is analytics and auditing. If you go on IMDb, you'll notice they're literally ranking them live. There's a live IMDb star chart, I think is what they call it, by the way. I'd hate to be in the top 10, because that means sooner or later you're not going to be in the top 10.
It's got to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, right. But that's okay. That's why you got to just let people follow you and not the project. That's why when I met Beyonce and I have a relationship with her, or when I launched my podcast, my first guests were Suchin Pak and Mandy Moore, and people will say, "Oh, you worked at MTV." That's why I go, a lot of people work at MTV. A lot of people, and those are 2. Sujin's got a #1 podcast, by the way, and killing it in every shape and form. And Mandy's directing and starring, and This Is Us, and
she's
being
doing
a mom, all the things. You know what I mean? And they made time for me because of all. You know why? Because of all the in between projects. That's where my brand kind of that's where I really think that I solidify my relationships is in between projects. It's easy to work with celebrities when you're the talent coordinator back then at MTV. I don't know if it's as easy anymore, but that's their fault, not mine. I left in 2007, so you all do the math. No shade. We have very different, I would have cast TRL different. You didn't ask me this. I can't believe I'm just offering, but I would have cast TRL differently the second time around.
How would you have done it? People are listening. How would you have done it?
They went to YouTube and they went to Instagram and they went to the influencers, the people that were kind of popular and already kind of had momentum. And that's not MTV. That's the exact opposite of Vanessa. We weren't. Oh, I feel horrible when I say this because I love them. We weren't the cool kids. Vanessa Lachey is killing it on CBS, NCIS Hawaii now, and or her from her Netflix show. She has that big show
Oh,
with Nick Lachey. They hosted together. She's so cool now, but we were just like dweebs
yeah.
back then, to be honest. Like we were so appreciative to be in the space. We were invited into the space, and I
Mm,
felt like the influencers kind of were already part celebrity, and
yeah.
I felt like what made the VJs so relatable. Even LaLa, when I think about it back then, because she's like a big star, LaLa now.
Huge
I mean,
power.
I
She's
could,
all type of stuff.
yeah, I see her now when I say I see her now, because after you have to reposition how you know people. I see the big giant movie star that she is. And the culture that she brings to, like, her
You
just
know,
like
and the
energy, you know what I mean? That she
swag.
just brings. Yeah, that's what that face. Oh my god, that's how I would talk about. Oh, I miss you, La. But I do. We had some fun times at MTV. But we were invited into a space. Like, we worked hard
Hmm.
to. I mean, we worked hard to stay there. La
Man,
worked hard.
I
They
think
worked hard to stay
you're
there.
you're hitting this right on the nail, man. I think for me, as an observer of what TRL and and what MTV was from those early days and those days where you were there, like we saw a little bit of a us in them. We're like, oh, I can do that, or oh, that's the homegirl, or I see something, and I think where they missed the mark, what we're heading towards is when you go with an established, already well known, it doesn't
Yeah,
feel the same.
yeah, yeah. It's not quite. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I want to be careful about how much I dig myself into a hole
But listen, Vin,
on the
I got
current programming state of MTV. But I feel y'all, and like I'm down to have this conversation in DMs.
yeah, absolutely. They're gonna be blowing your DMs up. I gotta ask you this question to wrap this thing up, man. It's a question we ask every single person that has ever been on this podcast. If you were getting ready to cross that stage, or perhaps you didn't even graduate at all, right? And you're just asking yourself the question of the podcast: school's over, now what? What advice would Vinny give?
Oh, that is brilliant. Uh, wow, I'm stumped for a second, and I want to say uh, oh gosh, I want to say, don't let that moment happen. See it coming. And the good thing about that moment coming, meaning there's a date, there's a graduation date, there's a moment, that's going to come, so that you have something to sort of anticipate. I saw that school was coming to an end for me in my senior year in college, and it was in October of '98 that I saw that happening. So I took out an ad in something called Backstage Magazine, saying that I'm a casting director looking for actors who want to be in commercials and TV and film, to send me their headshots. And it's that action that makes me a casting director. I started in my company my senior year in college, and I stepped into what I wanted to be doing before I could let the current project end. And
Mm,
I think that's why I was like pausing earlier, because I probably it's, there's probably answers that go in, more so in agreement with the phrasing of that question. But if I can, I would say don't try not to have to answer that question. Try to get
mhm.
there before it, anticipate it, and be prepared for it, and um and test yourself. There's like, this is the time to test yourself, to see what you like and what you don't like, what you will show up for and what you won't show up for. Um and you won't know until you try.
Man.
So try to figure that out before you get out of college, because, like, once school's over, it's the passes don't come, the hall passes, the get out of jail passes don't come as easy.
Facts, facts. Listen, man, it was a pleasure having you on the show, man. You absolutely crushed it. Gave us so many different insights on building a celebrity brand, relationships, and more. Our audience right now wants to know more about you. Like, where can we find you? Just give us all your social media platforms where we can find you.
Oh, I'm Vinnie Potestivo on everything. It's one hell of a name, but if you VinniePotestivo, it's a very hell of a name. But find me, Vinny. You'll see me. I'm around. I'm sure you'll be posting. I'll be on your socials for
Yep.
sure. So, like, we'll have some conversations. That's what this is about. This is like, you got to be careful when you use podcasting to meet people. Like I said earlier,
Hmm.
it's not about this episode. And it's not even about meeting you that makes this episode special. It's about, this is the first conversation we're having. I know there will be others. And I don't jump into conversations if I don't think there's going to be longevity, because I'm
Facts.
responsible for the creative and energy that I put out there. So, I want to be mindful of that. So I'm looking forward to this, man.
Oh man, it's gonna be crazy, man. I'm looking at you like, I got so many ideas, but you got to tell
Good.
everybody.
Taking the TV, taking all the screens. Sure.
Let's do it.
I
But
like
listen,
it.
we got to tell people about your show, man. Shout out your podcast because I think it's dope.
Oh, you're so awesome. It's called I Have a Podcast. You can check it out at ihaveapodcast.com. Also available on DirecTV via Bespoke TV, which is a cable network. Also on Cox and Comcast. So it's a show about sustainable creativity. It started off a little bit more interview. So it was me sitting down with the celebrities that I've impacted and who also have impacted my career, which is super cool. Jamie Lynn Sigler, Danielle Fishel Topanga
TJ.
from Boy Meets World. Yeah, exactly. Mandy Moore and Suchin Pak. I mean, it's been Christina Milian. We've had some good flashback conversations, and the goal, to be really honest, in a really human way, is to just show how uncomfortable being professionally creative is, so that it makes the obstacles to get to creative success and financial success that much sweeter, because it's not easy, especially if you're looking for financial success and creative success from the same project, because that's that's some box office stuff right there. You know what I mean? Versus making money from your brand. Anyway, so that's the part that I love about it. I'm learning more than I thought I would be, by the way. So that's something they don't teach you in podcast school, is like, if you're going to start asking questions, you're going to start learning answers. So that's a pretty cool byproduct of this. So I'm sensitive about who I talk to, because I also am aware that I take that information in. And I'm crushing it on LinkedIn audio events. I kill it. I love it so much. I'm so happy. One of a couple of people that got access early on. I had Chris Doe on earlier.
Wow,
Grant
love
Cardone
him.
was my second room. So I'm using it to bring in some biggies.
Grant's awesome, man. I interviewed Grant in Miami. It would talk about a personality.
Personality, right? Yeah, he walks in with the energy that, it's funny. All those guys too. They just sit down and their energy picks up like instantly.
Instantly.
Clarity. That's clarity for you right there.
Oh, that's superstar status. Listen, man, we appreciate you on the show. And for those of you that have been listening, always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. Hey, what's up, fam? Thanks for watching. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. We'll see you next week here at School's Over Now What. And always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.